What's going on, everyone? So, this year is the closest that we've had to the bubble Lakers. I actually think that this team is deeper and overall more talented than that Lakers team, than that bubble team that won the NBA championship. And I fully believe the Lakers have all likelihood of, they'll at least be a contender. But I really do have faith that they're going to be hoisting that Larry O'Brien trophy at the end of the year, right? They need to build the chemistry. They need to build those relationships. They need to do a lot of the things that that 2020 team had, right? That 2020 team, they had the chemistry. Like, they played for each other. You saw the relationships. You saw the dynamic that they all had. But one of the things that this Lakers team doesn't have that that team had was a guy like Jared Dudley. Now, some of you might be thinking like, oh, that's silly. Like, why do we need that? You know, we have veterans in LeBron and AD. And yes, we do. But we have a very young team. And the bubble team, yes, we had some youth, but we also had a lot of vet guys. You know, you had Dwight Howard, you had JaVale McGee, you had Rajon Rondo, right? You even had Jason Kidd on the bench. Like, you had a lot of things that it was a more veteran-led, more older team where the average age of this team is 26, right? But also, there's a big difference for most players in just relatability and being on kind of like an even level between like a LeBron James, who is this super duper star, arguably, if not the greatest player to ever play the game, and a guy like a Jared Dudley, right? Like, you being a young player, you having a thought, or, you're struggling, or, you have concerns about something or whatever, right? You in your own head, whatever it is, you tend to be more comfortable around your peers, around people that are your level, right? Like, if there's something like, even at like, to use an example of like something like at work, right? You're usually going to talk to your coworker, or somebody that is like in the same level as you about something that you might see or have an issue with or whatever before you go to the boss, right? Because it's the boss. One, you don't want to deal with whatever that conversation could turn into, and you don't want to deal with, it's just something that you just kind of want to get out at times, right? And that's what a guy like Jared Dudley brought. And so if the Lakers can bring somebody like that in, I do think that it would have an impact. And I do think it would be something that could be very beneficial to the Lakers and this Lakers team specifically because of their age. And one guy that just got waived, guys that comes to mind, is Rudy Gay. Rudy Gay comes to mind. So Rudy Gay was recently waived by the Golden State Warriors. Now, I know Andre Iguodala, some people might say like, oh, we'll get Iggy. I don't think he's going to lace it up. And I think if he was, he'd do the same thing for the Warriors. But I do think a guy like Rudy Gay makes a lot of sense for the Lakers. One, like I said, he could step into that Jared Dudley role. But more than anything, I think he would be great as like a mentor and just veteran for our young wings, right? Like, think of like Jared Vanderbilt, Rui Hachimura, right? Like, even Cam Reddish, guys like that. Rudy Gay, in his heyday, was an absolute bucket. This dude was just, if you don't know, go look it up. This dude was fantastic. I mean, even with like the grit and grind Grizzlies and stuff, like, this dude was a baller, an absolute basketball player. And I look at this roster and I see a guy like Rui Hachimura that could learn a lot, in my opinion, from Rudy Gay. See a guy like Jared Vanderbilt and Cam Reddish and even like Max Christie that could learn a lot from Rudy Gay. A veteran that has kind of gone through the ins and outs, has experience, has an understanding and knowledge of the game, was a big-time player in his heyday, but he wasn't so big that he's unrelatable, right? Like, this is a guy that was all-star level type player, but he wasn't like this super duper star. He wasn't like a top 5 player in the league or something like that, where like Rui and Vando and guys like that are like, I'm nowhere near that right now, right? Like, this is a guy that can say, like, I know exactly where you're at. I know exactly how you feel. And just gives you that relatability. And I think that that's very important, right? Again, especially for a young basketball team like the Lakers are. And I really think that bringing in a veteran like a Rudy Gay just could help on multiple fronts. The problem is, I don't know if the Lakers would keep him long term, right? And I don't mean like necessarily beyond this season. I mean just like throughout the course of the season. But I think that that's fine. Like, sign him, explain to him what you want his role to be, allow him to kind of be a placeholder for right now, and just tell him, like, look, we're signing you to kind of just be a player coach, be an extension, be a voice to these young guys, right? It's like, what's your other options? Now, obviously, I'm sure he still wants to play. So if he can find a destination in which will give him minutes or potentially allow him to play, then I think he goes there. But you got to look at it like my argument to Rudy Gay would be like, look, you're on a real contender where you have an opportunity to help us win an NBA championship. You're going to get moments where you will play. You're not going to play heavy minutes, but you will have moments where you will get the opportunity to play. And if you can just kind of come in, buy in, and do what is asked of you, then you can have a real role in the success of this Lakers team, right? Like, where else are you going to go? What else are you going to do? Like, yeah, you could go to another young team and maybe get some playing time and still do the same thing, but is that young team going to be a contender? Probably not, right? But here you would be. Here you'd have an opportunity to win an NBA championship. And I think that goes a long way. And real quick, before we continue, YouTube's got this new subscribe. Did it work? Did you see the little subscribe thing light up? I completely forgot about that. I wanted to throw that in this video early. So we're throwing it in now. Yeah, hit that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. I just wanted to see if it does the new light up trick. Supposedly when you say subscribe, it lights up. So every time I say subscribe, it's supposed to light up. Did it light up? Anyway, let me know in the comments. But back on track to actual basketball talk is, I do think Rudy Gay is still a guy that can provide offense or on-court production as well. Again, I wouldn't be looking to him to play heavy minutes or have a huge role or anything like that, but I do think he is a guy that could come in and really provide just 10 minutes here and there on any given night. You got a couple guys out on any given night. Like, his main role, the main focus, the main objective for him is to mentor and be a voice for these young guys, but also be a guy that at any moment, next man up mentality can step in. He's a guy that's not going to do too much. He's not going to go, out of his way to try to impress or, do anything silly. He's a veteran. He can still hit the outside shot. He's not the defensive player he once was, but still, he's a guy that can shoot the basketball and play the basketball well. He's also got good size, right? So it kind of fits into the mold of like what the Lakers are doing, having sizable perimeter guys. I really like the idea of giving Rudy Gay. It would basically be like an assistant coach position almost, right? Because that's basically what Jared Dudley did. He signed with the Lakers. He basically was like a coach on the bench for the Lakers. And then he finished his stint and got into coaching, right? That's how I look. I'm not necessarily saying that Rudy Gay is going to want to get into coaching, but it puts some money in his pocket. It lets him play a role. It lets him be on a contender. If nothing better comes along through the buyout market or the trade or anything like that, well then, you can just keep him throughout the course of the season. But at worst case, he could be salary filler that you need. And I just think you just be upfront with him. Hey, this is what we're looking to bring you in for. This is the role that we want you to have. Is that something that you'd be open to? Is that something that you're okay with? Is that something that you're game for? He either says yes or no. All right, either says, nah, I'm good. And then if he says no, then all right, like, good luck to you. I hope you find a spot that you can, go and maybe have an impact on. But I don't know. It's just a thought. I kind of like the idea. I really like the idea of just bringing in a veteran, right? And having that guy, because again, there's a big difference between relating to LeBron James or Anthony Davis and relating to a guy like Rudy Gay. I just think that it's night and day. But anyway, again, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. First off, hit that subscribe. Did it light up again? Does it? Huh? But no, let me know your opinion. Do you like the idea of bring in Gay, have him be a veteran guy, let him kind of play that Jared Dudley role? Do you not like the idea? Do you think no, save the open roster spot or whatever? And again, like I said, you don't have to keep him the whole season. Just be honest with them. Hey, we want to bring you in. If something better for the team that makes more sense, a big man, something like that comes along, then we're going to end up waiving you and we're going to sign that guy. But in the meantime, get paid, make some money. We'll give you a ring regardless if we end up winning one because, you were still a part of this team and doing the job that we asked of you. And see what he says. I think worst thing he says is no. But anyway, again, let me know your thoughts and opinions down.